Hey guys, it's Lem. Long time no see. Or in my case, long time no hear. I've got this really persistent ear infection going on and it's just starting to bug me now. I do feel like I'm kind of talking in a bubble or a space helmet or something. But anyway, if like me, you were watching the final of Britain's Got Talent the other night, then you'd have seen something quite interesting. ITV was running an ad campaign called Britain Get Talking, and it featured lots of well-known celebrities having a moment of silence, and the viewers were instructed to simply talk to the people they were with, to actually just open up and actively communicate, because it's so easy just to kind of tune out, watch something mindlessly, kind of fiddling on your phone at the same time, and not to actually engage and to open up to the people around you. I believe this was all in honour of World Mental Health Day, which is on the 10th of October. It wasn't just celebrities that took part in this initiative, but it was also companies such as Gillette and Oral-B, featuring their actors silently brushing their teeth or applying shaving foam. And I just think that was a brilliant, brilliant way to promote the goal of just physical communication. So why did we need this campaign in the first place? As I said, the 10th of October is World Mental Health Day, and the theme of this year's event is suicide and suicide prevention. Every year, almost 800,000 people take their own lives. And if you think about that, that's crazy. That's more than the entire population of Seattle. And of course, that doesn't take into account the many more who attempt it. The number of children suffering from anxiety or depression has increased by 48%. That's almost half since 2002. Again, that's just insane to think about. The silence of the ad campaign was very striking, and I kind of feel that still there is similar silence surrounding suicide. Whenever someone kills themselves, there's a whole crowd of people around them who say, "We never saw this coming." They missed it, and they pick apart every interaction and say, "Could I have spotted a sign? Is there something I missed? Was I being left a clue?" And one of the most painful things about depression and suicidal ideation is that you get so good at hiding it. You can be in so much pain, you think, this must be written all over my face in big block capitals for the world to see, but it's not. People just don't know. Robin Williams once said, "I used to think the worst thing in life was to end up all alone." It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people that make you feel all alone. And there's a lot of truth in that. Nobody wants to make a sufferer feel alone. So what can you do as the friend, partner or family member of a depressed person, or someone you fear might be feeling suicidal? I would say ask them if they're okay. It's very basic. And then don't necessarily take them at their word if they say fine. If you don't believe it, if it's not convincing, you are allowed to ask again. I feel like a lot of people just kind of go, "Oh good, they said they were fine. Whew. Bullet dodged." But actually, sometimes we want to be asked again. If you've noticed a change in their behaviour, then say gently, "I noticed that you seemed a bit off or a bit sad or a bit distracted lately." You are allowed to do that. There'll be a touch that you've noticed and that you're taking an interest in their well-being. That might actually be the trigger that they need to open up to you and reveal what's hurting them. At this point, you mustn't be scared of tears, because tears are not always a bad thing. Quite often they serve as catharsis and a kind of cleansing of emotion and outpouring that needs to be done, because emotional burdens weigh heavily on people. Sometimes it is overwhelming for the sufferer. They may not know what you can do to help them, and that's difficult. It might be a case of medication, it could be a case of therapy, a combination of the two. You really don't know, but if you don't even know where to start, then that's even more overwhelming. So perhaps do a little research. Does your friend, partner, son or daughter have a diagnosis? If not, prompt them to go to the GP. That's the first step. Get an explanation for what's been going on. They can help you further. At the same time, there are lots of helplines, support groups, all sorts of resources at your disposal, so make use of them. Don't try to quantify their suffering by saying something like,
"Yeah, well, okay, you're feeling bad. Guess what happened to me this week?"
I mean, by all means tell them what's going on with you. They genuinely like you, I expect. They'll want to know, but don't try and one-up them, because that's just dickish, let's be fair. They could be one bad night away from trying something. And yeah, that's the scary thing. If you hear people talking, even jokingly, about killing themselves, take that stuff seriously. When I was feeling down, someone in my close circle of friends at the time said to me, "Oh, come on, if you actually felt that bad, you'd have gone and done it by now." I'm sure she doesn't even remember having said this years later, but it stuck with me ever since. And every time I'm in that spot, in that hopelessly depressed state, I come back to it. And I kind of torment myself with it. If you really meant it, you'd have done it, blah blah, implying that I was kind of a coward not for just getting on with it. I mean, I'm not in danger, but you might know someone who is. They might actually have a plan. They might actually go ahead and carry it out. If you've got even a tiny bit of doubt or fear or suspicion, then voice that. Check in with people around them, their support network. Say you're concerned. It's much, much better to be safe than sorry when it comes to a case of life or death. Sometimes a depressed person just needs a distraction, quite honestly. You should ask them if there is something that they know of that you can do for them right now. They might need you to hold them. They might need you to just blather on in the background about something inconsequential. For example, if it's a panic attack or something, don't let them suffer in this awful silence because the evil voice in their brain is shouting all that time. They're just in a complete state of ah! So, cut them some slack. On the other hand, though, there are things that sufferers can do to make it easier for the people around them to help them as well. Firstly, I would say try not to be caught off guard. Obviously, there are times when you have no idea that it's coming back. Those are the worst. Ugh. I mean, I've had that quite recently, and if you're tired of hearing it, just imagine how tired I am of saying it. And even more tired of actually living through it, If you're quite experienced in these matters, which I am, then you might start to recognise your own warning signs. You might sleep more, you might start to eat more, or things that may not normally bother you could start to do so. These are all little red flags that you should be spotting. Listen to your body and your mind. But do you also have any triggers? That's another thing to watch out for. I mean, is it just PMS? Is that contributing to the kind of whole I'm going to just feeling? Sufferers like me actually find this time of year, when it's starting to get dark in the mornings, pretty hard because you're not being woken up naturally by the sunlight. You're just kind of jolted into wakefulness and you never feel like you're fully recharged, so that can have a dampener on your mood as well. Is it things that people say or things that happen to you? When you've established what exactly is going on with you and what caused it, you should have a procedure and appropriate tools in place. I mean, if you had some life-threatening allergy to beeswax or something, you'd have, I don't know, maybe not an EpiPen? Yeah, you'd have an EpiPen at hand, wouldn't you? Now, obviously not every solution works 100% of the time because the brain is annoying like that, but I mean, keep a possible box of tools. Oh, it's a word for that, toolbox, yeah. Keep a toolbox handy. I kind of hate that though, it's a bit sort of twee and Pinteresty. Whatever. I, for example, have got dedicated YouTube playlists. I've got one which it's really full of stupid things, I don't know if any of you have seen that video where there's a whole kind of crate of these dog toys shaped like ducks and someone presses down on them. I think it's called Duck Army. And they just let out this god-awful groan in unison. It's the best thing in the world. I think I'll put a link in the description below. You deserve to see it. Oh, I'm buzzing. But anyway, yes, so I've got a playlist called Turn That Frown Upside Down, smiley face. And I've got another, which is just called Cry It Out. And, does what it says on the tin. It's full of Samuel Barber, Adagio for Strings. When you just really do need to get it off your chest, and sometimes when you're depressed you can feel like it's stuck there. like a pill that won't go down. You need to have some sort of release, you know. I also have a sad lamp, which emits a kind of light that's meant to emulate sunlight, which should make it easier to get up in the mornings with regular use. Have the phone numbers of people you can call at whenever a clock at hand, hotline numbers, medications, distraction aids. Do you like to draw? Do you like to write? Have you got big clumpy headphones that just kind of shut the world out? Anything that has been proven in the past to make you feel better. Have it to hand. Takeaway message from this should be, you've got to ask for help if you need it, okay? Please promise me you'll do that, because much as we love our friends, families, and whatever, they are not psychic. The better they know you, the more they'll come to recognise, hopefully, when you're suffering. But again, we become masters of disguise, so sometimes people don't have a clue. By the same token though, and this is a hard one, I don't think it's fair to expect anyone to save you. People have got their own lives to lead, and they've got their own troubles. They don't always know what to do or say. Nobody trains you for trying to help a depressed person, a suicidal person. It's not what they teach at school, it should be, but it's not on the curriculum. So don't be angry at them for not being able to magic your pain away. Appreciate and acknowledge their efforts often, and make sure, although this is the hardest thing in the world to do when you don't even see the point, but please be proactive too when you have the strength to do so, or even if you feel you don't, make one last effort, because it could be that last effort that gets you out of this hole. Put together your plan of action. I recently spoke to a really good friend of mine who shared with me that she thinks that I may have a different diagnosis to what I thought I had, because I thought I just had bog standard depression. But she's advised me to kind of look into it more. So again, I'm writing out a new plan of action, and that is go to a GP, see what they recommend. Is it meds? Is it therapy? I would like some therapy anyway. In Germany, it's kind of hard to come by, but I think that's the case pretty much everywhere. But again, the GP may be able to point me in the right direction. Hopefully it'll be a better experience than last time. Didn't work out so well last time, I admit. But yeah, slowly but surely it will all come together. And at the end of the day, you've got to recognise this. You are a hero. You're your own hero. You see yourself falling off that building? Guess who's swooping up to catch you? It's you, wearing a natty kind of cloak and some goggles, because you have kept yourself alive. You've kept going in spite of. You haven't given up because of. Remember what the 1975 say, death doesn't happen to you, it happens to your family and your friends. So for their sake, and for your own, hang in there everyone, we can do it. Love you guys. Since 2002,